right, guys, I hope you drop that Twitch Prime, please. I need the $2.50 because every cent counts when you're in esports. We may be fired the next day. We may be canceled at a moment's notice. We may be cut off from every esports broadcast that is known to man, but I'll tell you one thing. We aren't going to cut off the personalities, the people who make esports run. We're bringing one in right now. Everyone, give it up for Dividing! Woo! That is right. That is right.
I'm here in the $50 million studio.
In the $50 million studio. And you know what? We just became a $50,025 studio because we just got 5 gifted subs from Cow. Wow. Whoa. Whoa. Wow. You love to see it.
What's up, buddy? Thanks so much.
But you know, what we love to see is you in the studio dividing, Mr. Dividing by Zero. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. So happy to get on this show, get in the studio with you, clearly in person in Houston with you. If you could not tell by the fact that the actual very clever illusion that makes it look like I'm in my walk-in closet in my apartment in Cincinnati, but I'm not. I'm actually right next to you right now.
You see, that's the beauty of Late Night with Los, right? You know, all the interns that we abuse to make this optical illusion, to make it happen, and you know, it just feels so good to see you one more time. And the last time, me and Dividing here have actually worked a couple of events together, and this dude is a fantastic Overwatch commentator. It's been a pleasure to see you work because I got to be on the analyst desk and just watch. And that's kind of the thing about esports is that we get in to just watch and enjoy. And then once you are someone who works it, you don't get to enjoy it anymore because you're working it.
Yep.
A tough run, huh? But at least I got to see you work. How are you doing in terms of the esports ecosystem, the Overwatch commentating system right now? I know it's Collegiate's over, but what are you doing? What are you feeling?
I mean, as of right now, with the Overwatch ecosystem, I'm kind of known as the collegiate guy, and I can't really blame anyone but myself for that. That's kind of how I have branded myself, so when summer comes around and there isn't any collegiate stuff going on, I'm just kind of sitting here going like, hey guys, I'm still here. You know? So, as of right now, not much Overwatch stuff going on, but hey, that's okay. I'm just working on OWCRA, trying to make it better, and trying to learn Omega Strikers. So, I'm keeping myself busy.
Yeah, I did see that you are branching out into a new title. First, I want to talk about, we'll get there in just a few moments, but I want to get back to the start of the Dividing journey. How did you become Dividing by Zero? How did you start that name?
Yeah, so the Dividing by Zero name comes from when I used to play Minecraft. I was really, like a lot of 14-year-olds in the early 2000s, I was really into specifically Minecraft PvP, and like every other game I've ever tried to get good at, I was aggressively mid. But what I was good at was, I like to think, was coming up with creative names for my account, and the one that I liked the most was Dividing by Zero, because when you play Minecraft and you kill someone in a server, obviously there's a little pop-up message on the server, and it would say, handsome host Los, for example, was slain by dividing by zero, like you divided by zero and it killed you, and I thought that was so funny. So that's where that name came from, and I just kind of adopted it and have kept it with me. It's been shortened down to Dividing, but Dividing by Zero is where the name started from.
What are some other names that you had on the long list?
The long list. So I guess I can just say it because my last name is on Wikipedia now. My last name is Fish. So a lot of my names started off with Fish somehow. Fished was something that I did for a little bit. Fished 3474 was the main thing I did. 3474 spells fish on an old-timey cell phone. Old-timey, of course, being like a decade ago. So, it's kind of funny because that name was Fished Fish, technically. That's the main one that I remember, honestly. There was, I had an alt account called Multiplying or something.
Was that
at some
the
point.
alter ego burner?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just talking shit at everyone all the time. No, I'm kidding. I haven't
I was about to
posted on
say,
that
wait,
account in
yo,
years.
what?
No, I haven't posted on that account in years.
Okay, yeah, no, you're more a good guy. I honestly can't
I would
imagine
like to
you
think
you
so.
talking trash. Do you ever get heated up in games and then take it to the all chat?
Only in Overwatch, and the other person has to throw the first stone first. Like, I get frustrated in Overwatch, like everyone does these days. Uh, but even so, I will never say anything to anyone unless they say something first. And then it's like, it's just so easy, especially with the stats that Overwatch gives you now, to be like, to just like flame them because oftentimes whoever, like, a lot of times the person who trash talks in Overwatch is like the DPS that has 15 deaths in 10 minutes. And it's like, why are you talking when you couldn't do anything the whole game at all? And it's just so easy. It's just way too easy, and you can't stop the fingers from typing sometimes.
Do you miss the days where it was medals that no one actually saw and you could just lie about having golds? Like, I would lie all the time about saying, I've got gold damage! I've got gold damage! What are you talking about?
I can't believe it. Someone's lying on the internet? Who would do such a thing? No, actually, I don't miss it. I'm a stats guy, so I like being able to see the exact numbers. I like being able to see exactly how much more damage I'm doing than the other DPS on the team. Or if it's less, then I just ignore it and never look at it the entire match.
That's probably a good idea, just ignoring the pain. What
Yeah.
role do you usually play? Are you a DPS guy?
Yeah, so I'll say the only way I've been able to like enjoy playing Overwatch in recent months is I have turned into what I call a quick play Quincy, where I will just turn on a podcast in the background and I will go into a quick play game. I will lock Ash and I will just start trying to click as many heads as possible. Leave voice chat. I'm one of those guys. And I will just kind of zone out and start playing aim labs with it. And my MMR is low enough that it actually works a lot of the time. So
Oh my god, I could not imagine listening to a podcast while playing a game because I cannot do anything if I'm hearing other voices. If I have to have lo-fi beats, Devin, I gotta have the lo-fi beats. If someone's saying anything during a game, I'm like my brain overloads. It doesn't work.
I think enough. I will give you this. The Overwatch characters are very chatty. Like anytime you do anything, they always have some weird quip going on, and I gotta give it to the developers for just having the actors do like a billion different voice lines for every scenario. Like they have one for like, if you kill a Winston as Ana while you have Pharah also on your team. It's like such specific things that it would never show up in game. But even with all that, I feel like enough time playing Overwatch, it all just kind of fades into the background. And it's just like chatter, 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 chatter.
That almost sounds like when you work at an amusement park and you hear just the sounds of the ride, like get ready to ride on the rockin' roller coaster, and you just don't hear it anymore.
Los, what have you done to me? You just surfaced so many bad memories.
What did you used to work at an amusement park?
I worked at an amusement park when I was 16. Not only that, I worked at the kid section of the amusement park.
Was it Cedar Point?
It was not Cedar Point.
Okay, that's the only Ohio amusement park. That man,
it's the other one. It's the other big one near Cincinnati.
It was a half court shot from me.
I worked in the kid section because 16-year-old brain was like, I have to be 18 to operate rides, except in the kid section where I can do it if I'm like 16 and up. And operating rides sounds cool, so I'll do that. It sucked. It was so bad. It was I was like, I'm gonna be a big important man operating big machinery, and all you had to do was like turn a key and press a button, and then the ride just went, and that was the whole thing.
What ride were you working on? And what was the name of the amusement park?
It was Kings Island. It's near Cincinnati. And the amusement park, it's like, I don't remember what exactly it's called, but it's like the kid section is like all themed off of like Peanuts, like Charlie Brown, Snoopy, all those guys.
So was it Snoopy Land?
Was it Snoopy Land? No, it was Planet Snoopy, I think. I think it's called Planet Snoopy, but
Close
close.
enough. Close enough.
Yeah, yeah, you get there. I did. Let me think. I did a couple of rides. I did like, oh man, I did the kid bumper cars in that one, and that one sucked because you would have parents would basically just like go to their infant children who can barely walk and be like, "You want to go ride the bumper cars?" And they would just sit in the bumper car. They wouldn't know how to strap themselves in. They would get stuck and they would start crying because the ride was really old and you would get stuck all the time. And I will always remember this. Every time I saw someone get stuck, I would have to go into the microphone and go, if you get stuck, remember to turn your wheel in a big circle. And I had to say it exactly like that every time. And they would never do it. They would just get upset.
Did you ever have to yell at people who were screwing around on rides, or did you just have to be nice about it?
Um, I would never have to yell at people. I was a 16-year-old kid with no backbone whatsoever.
Mm.
Even if I think I had to yell at someone, I probably wouldn't.
I'm a 26-year-old man with no backbone, so I hear you, man.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Bruh.
I'm pretty close to that as well. I've grown the teeniest little backbone for myself. Like I've maybe got like 2 vertebrae in there.
Okay, nice. Listen, dude, that's above fish. So like, let's
This is
freaking
true.
go. Which is interestingly enough, being that it's your last name, you've evolved. You're an evolved version of yourself.
Oh my gosh, you're right. It's almost like we change and get better as humans the more we live. Or
Almost made it there. A third evolutionary form dividing. Not quite yet. What other jobs have you had though, aside from the amusement park?
Yeah, the amusement park. I also worked at Top Golf for a little bit. If you've ever been to one of those,
Oh hell yeah.
um, I was called a caddy there, and that just basically meant like there's a little like compartment on every floor that had like soda machines and tortilla chips, and you would just deliver them to tables, and that's what you did for your entire shift. It was kind of monotonous, but it was okay.
Yeah, that seems way better than having to deal with kids all the time.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that phase of your life is over, unless you're still doing
Mhm.
it as a side gig. I don't know.
No,
If
never
so,
again.
listen.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The worst part about Kings Island, if I can say one more thing
Let's
about
go
Kings
back there.
Island,
Yes.
and then I'll be done. I promise. I had to do the height wall where kids would line
Oh
up
yeah.
against the wall, and you would have to give them a bracelet based off of what rides they had to ride. And for kids, this is like a very nerve-inducing moment because it's like graduating from like one size part to another is like a big deal, and then you get to ride more rides. It unlocks more stuff for you, so they're very nervous about it. Because they're very nervous about it, the parents are caring about it a lot, and so if they don't make the size that they are thinking they should be, the parents get mad at you, and that's when it gets really scary.
Like, don't get mad at me. It's your fucking kid that's not tall enough. Why am I gonna be the issue?
I had a very specific story of a guy who brought a kid, like a pretty small kid. This dude is like jacked. He's like a foot taller than me. He probably has 50 pounds on me. And again, I'm like 16 years old. His kid comes in, does the height wall. He like barely makes the height that he was going to make, and then he says, mostly joking, but still like terrifyingly, like looking at me like, looks like I don't have to beat anybody up today. And it's like, what the heck is wrong with you? I'm a child.
Damn, what the hell? Yeah,
I'm a kid.
that is a possible solution. When I would go to roller coasters or amusement parks, and I wasn't tall enough, what we would do is get a bunch of napkins and put them in my shoes, so I would be a little bit taller. So I would get shoe
Oh,
lifts. Shoe lifts to make it onto rides. Now I get shoe lifts so people
okay.
don't think I'm only 5'8". That's
Mhm. See, we have a trick for that in the casting industry, and it's called standing on boxes.
Oh yeah, I haven't been hit with an apple box yet, thankfully. If that happens,
I
I will be thoroughly embarrassed if I have to do something like that.
I very nearly was in CECC because Clutch Key is significantly
Oh
taller
yeah,
than
that
me.
dude.
Um, but they tried me on it and they were like, no, we don't really like this because like we can see dividing's waistline on camera and that looks kind of weird. And I was like, oh, thank goodness.
It's yeah. Listen, dude, that's the troubles of a small torso. Most of my height comes in my legs. So
Mhm.
that's what happens. So when I'm sitting down with my girlfriend, she's got a taller torso than me and shorter legs. So she's taller than me when we're sitting next
Yeah.
to each other. It's troubles of a small torsoed man. It is what it
It's
is.
troubles of a small man in general.
Mm-hmm. Life really throw some curveballs at you. But hey,
Mhm.
speaking of curveballs, one was definitely thrown at you once you started your YouTube channel and really began to found some success with that. How did you begin in the YouTube game?
Yeah. Honestly, I started doing YouTube mostly. Well, it wasn't like an accidental thing, but it was definitely like I wasn't expecting to get as much attention as I ended up getting. Um, the big thing with starting YouTube was at the time, Overwatch League had like just started, and I was super into it in like season 1, season 2, and I was like, as like any teenager would, after seeing a topic that they like a lot, they'll then like go onto the internet and be like, oh, I want to try and consume some more content about this. And what was crazy to me is that there was like no one who was actually like creating content about the Overwatch League. There was one guy doing it. His name was King Michael, and he would just do this thing where he would just sit down in front of a microphone for like 10 minutes, talk about whatever was going on in Overwatch League at the moment, and then he would just be like, put some Overwatch League B-roll in the background and upload it. It was fine, but I was like, there really isn't anyone like putting like a ton of like hot effort to try and make like an edited analysis of Overwatch League at the time. Now there is more, but at the time there wasn't, and this like light bulb went off, and I was like, why don't I just do that? And it's like it's crazy how much of my like online presence stemmed from like me seeing something that like having an idea for a thing, looking online, seeing that there was lack of that thing, and then being like, why don't I just do it? And that's how I started making YouTube videos. Literally my first YouTube video, I made it in like a day during spring break. I had nothing else going on, so I spent the entire day doing it. Um, and then, like most YouTubers do, I made a drama video, and that was the first one that really popped off. And I got my first 1,000 subscribers from that. And they say the first 1,000 is the hardest milestone to get.
So you were doing this all while in high school then, or at least you started things off that way.
I did start in high school, yes. It was during my senior year of high school, so I had already like picked my college, and I had big senioritis, and I wasn't really paying attention in classes, honestly. And I had nothing better to do than to watch Overwatch League for uh, however long Overwatch League was. I literally watched every game, and then I would make content about it.
What was your favorite team back then? And is it still the same today?
Mm. So my favorite
You could
team
say
really
Outlaws,
changed.
that's
Oh
that's a
yeah,
good one.
yeah, yeah. I love the Outlaws. I love the Outlaws so much. At some point it was.
Bruh.
I am a big fan of Dante, so I'll always like cheer for the team that Dante is on for sure. Right now it's the Gladiators. I also really, and that's why I also like really liked the Shock because he was on the Shock in season 1. I've always kind of had the Shock as one of my favorites since then.
So then you did have the Outlaws for a minute when he was
For a
back on
minute,
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Honestly, biggest mistake ever letting him go because you lost my fandom. So
Yeah.
like, that's the problem.
We're gonna have to talk to the GM about that one. See if we can do a mid-season transfer. Is that allowed? Is that legal for the league?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, people do mid-season transfers all the time. Dante's a tank player now, though, so I don't know.
We already have two of those.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I actually have two different posters of Dante in on my desk at the office because it's like
Really?
it's the older hype, portraits that they had for each players for like two previous seasons, or maybe they just made two copies of them. And we have two sets of Dante photos, and they just look at me day in and day out. That at one point I just had to turn it around. I'm like, I can't look at this man anymore. I can't look at you, Dante.
I remember during the Shock days, they did this random short video series called like Deep Thoughts with Dante, and it would just be like it would be some narrator going, "It's time for Deep Thoughts with Dante," and then it would be Dante saying something like, why do we park on driveways and drive on parkways?" And it was like, and then that was it. And it was like, "Thank you for listening to Deep Thoughts with Dante." And that was the entire thing. And I ate that shit up, dude. That was so funny to me.
I feel like it's that way because he seems to be such like a generally quiet person that if you hype up something for him to be like the center of attention, says one quiet ass thing and then it just ends. That is fantastic. I love that shit. I think he's a very solid personality,
Yeah.
even though I feel like he doesn't do too much, right?
I feel like he's a personality in Overwatch simply because he has been around since the beginning of Overwatch League. And at this point, there's only a couple of players who can say that they have. It's like Dante and Prophet, and like I can't even I don't know if I could tell you a third off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's just he's there, and then you think, damn, it's Dante. Nice.
Yeah, right? Dante on a team is always a good time, regardless.
Well, speaking of good times, you definitely were starting to build up some momentum. So much so that one video you made actually had Monty comment on it and find it. Monte Cristo, he noticed ya.
He did. I did make a video. So this was interesting because it was in the beginning of my career and I was experimenting with different styles. And that video specifically, it wasn't like Monty being like, "Oh man, this guy makes good content," or "He's really smart about Overwatch." My video was 7 minutes of Monte Cristo being savage because that's what he did. Because that was his personality, was he would just roast people on stream, and I thought that was funny. So I made a little compilation of him doing it in Overwatch League and doing it before Overwatch League. And then, if someone made a funny compilation video of me, it would stroke my ego enough to comment on it. So I think the same thing happened to Monty there.
So experimenting with content, right? You were trying out different things. I think there was it was Overwatch explained via iDubbbz, right? How did you create that series?
Yeah, it was also at that point, there was that point iDubbbz just came out with a bunch of different green screen reaction things, and people were just making memes of random things. And it was it was just again, it was just this mentality of I would look on the internet and be like, "Hey, has anyone used these iDubbbz green screen things specifically on Overwatch League?" And Overwatch League is such a niche thing that usually the answer would be no. And then the second question would be, okay, why can't I do that? And usually the answer is there's no reason why I couldn't do it. So, and then I would just do it. So that was the basic mentality. And then I would just come up with random ideas. Like a meme, there's a player on the Houston Outlaws Season 1, and he became a Sentinels Valorant coach named Raucus, and the meme about him was that he had a big ass.
Bro's got a fucking dumpy. I saw the pictures. I thought it was photoshopped. Has science gone too far? I didn't know.
No, he's just built like that, dude. It's crazy. I don't know how that genetically happens, but it did.
Some people just got it all, right?
They just get all the luck, man.
But I want to go back to what you just said is there the mentality behind it? Is there a reason why you can't do it? No, so then you do it. has there been any decisions, any opportunities where you've maybe had some fear, some internal struggle, and you've used that same mentality to push through?
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think a big thing for that would be the project that I'm working on right now, my big passion project, which is OWCRA, which is also which stands for the Overwatch Collegiate Ranking Association. Which is, again, it was a very similar situation that was a lot more recent, which was um, uh, the big problem with collegiate in general, but also collegiate Overwatch a lot, is that there are so many different collegiate events going on, and so many teams only participate in like one or two of them of the like 8 major events and leagues going on. It is like impossible to keep it all together, and there was no like centralized ranking system or ranking committee that would come out with regular rankings. Like NACE would come out with ranks for specifically their teams, but they would only include their teams because it's NACE and they want to promote their teams. So I was like, okay, can I, again, no one's doing this. Is there any reason why I can't? And the big thing for that was it wasn't like just me. I would have to get a committee of people that were as committed to it as I was. And that has always been like an issue for me. It's been like accepting help from people and building, and like when it came to my videos, I was offered so many times like, hey, if you want help writing or editing, like there are people out there who can help with that. And I would just refuse. I would be like, no, it has to be me. It has to be all me. I have to do all of it. So even for something as small as like, hey, can you submit an Overwatch collegiate ranking every month? It was like, oh, how do I feel about putting together a committee like that and working with people like that? And that was a bit of a hurdle internally that I had to get past, but I did, and I'm super happy that I did, because OWCRA has been a big success in its first year, and I think we're only going to get better.
Hey, congratulations on a great start, but I could definitely relate on the idea of not wanting to reach out for help. Where, I've had someone reach out about helping me with Late Night with Los, being a producer, working with me in that way, and I'm like, no, this is mine.
No,
No one else can touch this.
This is my baby. My baby. No one touches it.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all perfectionists here, and letting other people kind of touch the thing that you've worked on always feels like a risk.
How'd you go about finding contributors for OWCRA?
Honestly, I was lucky in the fact that I had a YouTube channel that was still it had been laying dormant for a while, but it still had about 20,000 subscribers, and I had a Twitter that had about 3,000 followers. So I was able to, like, if I like put out a blast saying, "Hey, I'm looking for people who know Collegiate Overwatch," I'm lucky enough that those blasts would go to more people than most other people if they tried to do the same. So the first time it was just like, hey, reach out to me if you're interested in helping with this. And people who had watched my videos in the past, who are now in the collegiate scene, or people who I just trusted, were like, hey, I'll help out with this. And at that point, because OWCRA had no track record as a project, if you had a pulse and you were involved in collegiate at all, I was like, heck yeah, join in. Come on, buddy. Get in here. So
you got Discord? All right, let's go.
Yeah. You got a Discord? What college are you from? Southern Kentucky University Baptist Methodist. Okay, sure. Come on in. You have 3 students? Come on.
I mean, so based off of that, of having that large reach, you would consider yourself an influencer?
Maybe. I've always kind of balked at that because I don't love. I guess technically by the definition of it, I guess I am. I like to think that I influence people in a good way for the most part. I think that I am also, if I am an influencer, I'm a washed influencer because I haven't made YouTube videos in a very long time, which was the main reason why people trusted me for stuff. I have been consistently losing subscribers and losing followers ever since there, which is like fair because they followed me for specifically Overwatch League stuff, and once I stopped making stuff about Overwatch League as much, they had no reason to stay because I made it all about Overwatch League and didn't give them another reason to stay outside of that. So that's a mistake I made a little bit.
Do you think that you'll ever return to making more YouTube videos?
If I do, it will be more. The answer is I've definitely thought about doing it, and I probably will do it at some point soon. But it won't be as much around Overwatch League. Well, it might be around Overwatch League because that is my niche, and I'm still very passionate about it. I'm more passionate about collegiate stuff, so it might be around that as well. The important thing for me is that I want it to also be centered around, not centered around me, but like incorporate more of my personality and have more of me involved in it. Because in my past videos, if you watch it back, you're like, man, this is some pretty robotic stuff going on right now. He's just like it was extremely scripted. I made it, I edited it, I made like a bunch of different drafts, and I kind of boiled it down to be as direct of a script as possible, I think. So it was very much like, and then the team did this, and then they did this, and it was fine, but again, like people followed because it was like good. It was like pretty good recap Overwatch content, and not as much because I was entertaining as like I don't know, entertaining as like a story. It was an entertaining story, but I was not like involved in it at all. And because of that, like I said, when I stopped doing Overwatch League stuff, and stopped and didn't post about it as much on Twitter, they had no reason to stay. So I'm hoping that if I make it incorporate me a little bit more, then they would have reason to stay, regardless of what I'm talking about, you know?
Well, then tell me more about I would say, the blossoming of your personality, right? Because if your earlier videos maybe barely had much of you talking, or sometimes it would be the iDub stuff, right? Talk to me about the injection of your voice, both as a physical thing and your personality voice.
Yeah. I was very, like, scared of revealing much about myself at the very start. My first ever video on my YouTube channel was like one of those text-to-speech voices. Like if you've ever watched a Sir Swag video, it was that voice. Because I just didn't want to put my voice out there at all, like literally. Then once I started doing it, I was very much emulating the style of a sports YouTuber called Urinating Tree that I liked a lot. And his style was very like, I'm an angry guy, and I'm going to yell at you and roast all the teams, and because they suck and they're garbage and they should feel bad, and you should feel bad if you're a fan of them. And I tried to do that, and it was like, man, this is not really me at all. I can't do that.
Even that short snippet of you, I was like, well, who is this? Who is this right now?
I get like obviously overdone for comedic effect, but like that's just not me. So I like to present myself as a smart person, as an intellectual person, because I think that I am. That's a little bit of like I understand it's a little bit of a self-absorbed thing to say. Everyone thinks they're smarter than the average person, but I do think that that's kind of the way that I present myself, and I think that I can. There are very few people on the internet that can be intelligent and also be very entertaining and fun to listen to, and that's kind of the balance that I want to strike as much as possible.
Then that talent really was employed later on when you took it to a live setting. So how did you become a caster from a YouTuber?
Yeah. So this involves someone named Navino, who at the time was. Are you aware of Elo Hell Esports?
I was supposed to do a Valorant gig with them, or maybe an Overwatch gig with them one time, but then I was doing something the same day that they booked me, and I think it came up the same day that they booked me, and I was like, "Ooh, sorry guys, I'm not gonna make that one."
So
Ooh,
yeah,
I don't know, guys.
basically what happened was I had done some very basic casting stuff on my own time with stuff that I had like run, like pugs that I had run with my own like YouTube community. And Navino, who I had worked with before and talked to before as a part of that in League Zero, which was like a little was like a tournament thing that I ran with my community, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, Elohel is looking for Overwatch casters for next season. Do you want to be involved in that?" And at the time, like I can go back to my things with Navino, and I was like very tentative about it. I was like, sure, I'll give it a try," because I wasn't very confident in myself. But that was like my first ever like go at a big, at like, to me, like a big official casting gig, and I really really enjoyed it. I found a joy in it that I had not found in YouTube in a very long time, and that my favorite part of making YouTube videos that I made in the past, was the storytelling aspect of it, and being able to tell the stories of these players and these teams in the Overwatch League. And then I was able to do that kind of in a live setting, because that's kind of what casting is, right? It's like telling the story of the match you're casting. And then, you know, there's a level of improv in it, and it's not always the same, and it's engaging every time. And honestly, I fell in love with it through that. And after that, I like didn't want to do anything else.
How'd you make the choice to become a color commentator over a play-by-play?
I think it just comes down to, yeah, it's an interesting question, because I think I could probably be a fairly decent play-by-play if I wanted to be. But I think that my bigger strength as a caster is, I hope every people who listen to this agree with me, is my ability to, at least in an Overwatch game, in a game that I know really, really well, be able to kind of spot these little things that happen, understand the ebb and flow of a game, and be like, and see like what ultimates the team have going into the next fight, and be able to say, okay, here's how these teams are going to want to use these ultimates, here's how this comp wants to function with these abilities, and kind of set that up for the play-by-play caster and also the production to be able to be like, okay, this is what we're focusing on. Do I do a good job of that? I like to think so. Sometimes probably not, because no one's perfect, but
Well, I would say good enough that we work the same events, right? So I'm
fair.
I'm as good as you are, and you're as good as me for the jobs that we find, right?
That's fair, yeah. And now I'm here in the studio, so that's gotta mean something.
Exactly. So if you talk bad about yourself, remember that means you're talking bad about me, and I don't want to hear none of that. I don't want to hear none of that, Devin.
I'm just you're your own worst critic, you know.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta be. I mean, if someone else is being harsher than you are, then you're like, God, well, goddamn, chill out, bro. I don't even know you.
I think a big part of my like casting journey, and maybe even my content creation journey in general, is just like being okay with letting a piece of content go out that I think is just good, you know? Don't let perfect get in the way of good is a saying that I've been going through a lot, especially recently, because like I said, I'm a perfectionist, and but if you keep on trying to hammer away at a piece of content or something that you're working on until you think it's absolutely perfect, you're just never going to release it, and that's no good for anybody. So I think just being able to release content that you think is good, but constantly trying to get better, is just going to make your content go from good to great to excellent.
Something I've learned along the way is definitely it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be posted, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
And I have sometimes just rushed some stuff. I've been frustrated about a piece. Like I've had to reshoot it like 3 or 4 times. I didn't get the takes right. And then I'm just like, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to put it out right now. I'm just going to put it right out. And it's, you know, and then it definitely doesn't reflect what I'm trying to do. But what I've come to I guess mentally is I finish, take like 5 minutes, walk away from it, and then look at it for another 20 and think, what can I really do to make this better? What can I do?
Mhm.
Set aside time. So you put like a deadline on it almost. And if you
Yeah.
can't really think of anything, then you're like, well, this is what I'm gonna put out. This is what I gotta do. I think it's a little bit harder in a live setting, right? You can't you can't do that. Like you can notice, like, oh god, I'm bombing this cast right now. Please
Yeah.
just end the map.
I'm curious. How many times do you like finish a cast or a production or something that you're working on casting wise, and like you're thinking about the cast like 5 minutes after you leave the call, and you're like, "Damn, I really did a good job that cast."
um, I think usually is how
Usually,
it goes. Sometimes, I may get gassed toward the end of a broadcast. So like I might do, say we're doing a best of three, two best of threes, freaking on the table, right? I'm doing fantastic. That first series, banger.
hmm
Second one, I might have a few hiccups here and there just because I get a little like I'm getting tired, I'm getting gassed from that. But it's not enough to make me feel like that whole session wasn't good because
sure.
the good far outweighs the bad, and I think that goes for most people who have, that seasoned experience. They know what they're doing, unless like you just start dry heaving in the middle of a cast or something, that might be an issue, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting that you said that because I'm about to say something kind of sad. That I only have that feeling probably about a third of the time after I cast. And every other and like 2/3 of the time I finish a cast and I'm like, man, I was awful. That sucked. That felt bad. I didn't like that very much. Um, and it kind of beating myself up over it. But um, there's like two options, right? You either like you say you think you suck at it, so you stop doing it, or you think you suck at it, so you work to get better, right? And I like to think that, and for casting, I've been trying to do the second one as much as possible.
How much VOD review do you do?
Pretty consistently. I've done a decent amount of VOD review. Curix has actually been really helpful. As I've done multiple VOD reviews with him, and he has always had some very insightful stuff. Like every time, like actually for CECC Texas was actually in that 1/3 of the time where I was like, I finished a cast and I was like, damn, I feel like I killed that. And then I VOD reviewed it with Curix and he was like, okay, so here is all the things you did wrong after listening to it for like 5 minutes. And I was like, damn, okay. So that's it's a little demoralizing in the moment, but it is good to like always have people that are, it's been great. And I have to give all the props in the world to here because he didn't have to give his time to help me because he's up doing Overwatch League now and doing all that cool stuff, but he wants to take the time to help build up people who are grinding in the collegiate and tier 3 tiers to try and get their chance to move up, and I appreciate that a lot from him.
That I've actually gotten VOD review from him as well. Definitely been
Yeah.
a help. Shout out to Urix. But what I'm imagining in that situation, right? So you felt fantastic and you came through when it was most necessary. Championship finals, that's when a player really needs to shine. Finals, that's where you came through and did the best that you felt you could do. And now here in that VOD review, I imagine it's similar to, hitting a new max on a bench press, right? All right, you hit that. Great job. Let's put 5 more pounds on it.
Yeah.
Let's put 10 more pounds on it. So you did the best that you're capable of. Now let's make you better. So not like you did it specifically wrong. We could improve upon it, right? So I feel like maybe that's just a better way that you could walk away from these things, right?
Yeah, I guess that's fair. That's definitely a much more positive way to think about it. And I think my brain is just mean to me sometimes, as it is I think for a lot of people. And I think honestly being able to reframe it in that sort of more optimistic way is a very good skill, and I think I should get better at that.
Hey, dude, I might become a motivational speaker one of these days. But you have had some major
Motivational
improvements.
speaker Los, let's get it.
Lotivational speaker.
Motivational.
You've had some major improvements throughout your career, specifically of this setup, which I have to say is fantastic. From humble beginnings, I do believe we have to say, of this bad boy.
Oh my gosh, where did you find that picture? That is my college laptop, and yep, that is a blue snowball microphone. Oh, that takes me back. That is, yeah, that is the desk in my parents' house. Was that like buried in my Twitter somewhere?
You know, we just, here at Late Night with Low Studios, we find the good stuff. What kind of laptop is that? Gotta be
oh
an Asus,
it's
maybe.
It's a Predator something. I don't remember exactly. It was so long. I think I still have that laptop, actually. It is so beat up now. It's like, let me think. I got that when I was starting to go to college, and now I've graduated from college. So that laptop is like 6-7 years old. Whenever I try and start it up, it takes a solid 5 minutes, but it still boots. It still works. And I feel like I did so much on that laptop. I'm gonna keep it until one day it just refuses to turn on anymore.
I think you just gotta put that in the dividing library.
Yeah.
The archives at this point. Put it on a pedestal.
You know what? I hope one day I get to the point where like I can auction that off for more than the laptop was originally worth, because I used it.
Do you have like the OG dividing files on there?
Oh, that's a really good question. I might.
Because now we're talking. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Think about the OG Ninja streaming PC. Now that could be a pretty penny, huh?
Ooh. You know what? That's fair. I'd have to look. I'd have to look and see what files are still on there. I would not be shocked if some like files from past like season reviews that I made were still on there somehow.
It might be worth taking a look. But first, we're going to take a look to our sponsors here. Ambient Misery, Calv, 1,000 bits, and the subs. Woo! Okay. Now dividing. A major glow up. You've created OWCRA. But now I want to take it back. I want to know a little bit more about the work that you've been doing. So we're going to do a segment dealing with these teams. The top-ranked teams. We don't have too many times or too much time left in the show, so we're gonna have to cut it down. Maybe we could say, let's do 7-second summaries of the top-ranked teams. How about that?
Okay, like the top-ranked teams in OWCRA?
That is correct. We've got Northwood at the top.
Northwood at the top. Northwood, they were runner-ups for the entire year, and they came through when it counts.
Maryville.
Maryville won CECC, but with tons of roster upheaval. They had like a bunch of different starting fives.
Illinois State.
The defending champs couldn't quite get it done. We'll see what happens next year.
Rutgers.
These guys were historic underdogs. They were just pulling off upsets left and right.
Fisher.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of team. They were always up there, but they were never able to compete with the top.
UC Irvine.
Just stream more. Like, I know nothing about this team because they never publicized their Overwatch team. Please just stream your games.
Sidebar, fun fact, fellow Juggernaut member and Houston Outlaws content creator, Lord Enzo, played for Loyola Marymount University, and they got absolutely clapped by UC Irvine on the NACE Star League stream.
That's the thing. They're so good, but they never stream themselves. It's crazy. Please, just like publicize your stuff more. It would be so good.
Continuing on that, isn't it bullshit that some teams can just say they don't want their games to be streamed? I feel like if you're in a league, bro, if you're in open division, deal with it, all right? You want to make it to the top, people are going to watch you.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of understand it from their perspective, in that like they're like battling really hard to make it into contenders, and like we don't want people to see our strats or whatever. It's like, what, we don't know that you're gonna run Reinhardt on King's Row? Like no one's running anything that's so ridiculous, and no one's going to have ever seen it before. I just think that when it comes to getting your name out there as a player and like showing what you're made of, being on stream and being casted and having people scream about your pop-offs, and then you can put that on Twitter, I think that does more for you than making it one round further in an open division bracket than you might have done.
Following on that, how important is it for players to create content and make a name for themselves?
I think it is very important, especially right now. I think that especially in like the current esports climate, which is like very shaky, obviously, with the whole LCS walkout thing you were talking about before. It is very important for play. I think a lot of players think that, oh, I'm just going to grind this game 10 hours a day, and I'm going to be the greatest player in the world, and I'm going to get to the pros, and then I'm going to just like be there for a while. And even if you do get up there, it's like the career prime of a like a world class esports player is like rarely longer than 5 years. And it's like from that point, it's
Especially if
like
you got players playing like this shit. I hate that.
yeah,
Anyways, continue.
yeah. And from that point, it's like you're eventually going to fall out of the top league. And so, if you want to stay in the esports space, the best option, and honestly the most lucrative option, is to go into content creation. And you can really get a head start on that by making content while you're a player. You have that kind of clout and that skill from being in a tier 1 esports league that very, 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 very few people have. That is such a massive advantage that you have over the just flood the massive pool of people who are streaming on Twitch and making content right now. And I just don't feel like enough pro esports players take advantage of that as much as they could be. Like, if you're not into that, you don't want to make content, like, that is fine. That's a totally different thing. I think there's a lot of interesting personalities in esports, though, that could get really big on Twitch if they tried to leverage their personalities more, and they just don't, because they want to spend every waking moment towards the game. But I think if you just like stream maybe even just like an hour and a half a day, it could go a long way.
Well said. Boise State.
Oh gosh, we're still doing
We're
this.
back. We're back in it. We're back in it.
Oh gosh. Hi Doc.
Big shout out, Doc. Okay, moving on. UT Dallas.
UT Dallas. They were facing adversity all year, but the Redbirds win was sick.
Harrisburg.
Honestly, kind of feels like a fallen giant. Those guys were so good a couple years ago, and then they're still like barely in the top 10. This is way past 7 seconds, so barely in the top 10, but like very but not as good as they used to be, unfortunately.
University of St. Thomas. Be nice, because we have an intern in the office from there.
Ooh, best team ever. Love you guys.
Yeah, let's go, baby. And there it is. Dividing has done it. The 7-second summary throwback OWCRA mix-up has been completed. Thank you so much, Dividing. What did you think of that?
I thought I would be a little bit rusty, but it did okay. I hope that you didn't have like an actual timer in the corner there, because
I did not.
Went over 7 seconds a couple of times, but I think I still got it, honestly. I think it only took a little bit of shaking off the rust, and I was right there.
I honestly think you had it. And do you think that there may be a return, and that could be part of OWCRA as well, doing OG dividing content?
I think it absolutely could be. Again, I think that there's a very unfulfilled niche right now in Overwatch esports, specifically in Collegiate. No one's making specifically like collegiate-based Overwatch content. And again, we're going to keep coming back to this mentality. Is anyone doing it? No. Is there a reason why I can't do it? Probably not. I have a full-time job now. That's part of it. So
Oh.
maybe not as consistently as I used to.
What do you do?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna do that right now. I work for a technology firm in Cincinnati.
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. Go back to the other one.
Is anyone doing it? Not really. Is there any reason why I can't do it? Probably not. So why don't I just do it? You know? That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Dividing. Just do it. And there you have it, folks. Dividing has killed it. We got one more question. Where can the people at home find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at dividingby0. It's dividing_by_ and then the number 0, not the word. You gotta be specific about that. And then also Twitch under the same name, except there are 2 G's in dividing instead of 1 because someone took dividing by 0 normally.
So does that mean there's gonna be a return to the stream?
I think there will be a return to the stream in the near future, yes.
Whoa! Oh, we got him. We have leaked it. We have got the juice right here. Dividing has done it. And my God, what a way to do it. But that's going to be it, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here on Late Night with Los. We're going to be here, right here, next Thursday. We're going to keep on going week after week after week after week. But make sure you're following Dividing. By Zero is the Twitter. Dividing is what you should be calling him in the timeline. Also, shout out Neb. Also, shout out Lion, Ambient Misery, and Calv, all supporting the stream. That is going to be it. We're going to be sending it to nobody I know who is streaming right now. So we're just going to cut this bitch. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, and good night.